I've known Bruce Wood for about a decade and a half. We've both ridden the ups and downs of what the world has thrown our way and have achieved success growing our small businesses. He and his company, High Tech Staffing, supply an integral element to any production: the human element. He supplies technical staff for large-scale projects in large-scale venues. And with that comes a lot of research, vetting, and interaction with both clients and the people who are potentially matched to specific projects. All that requires a delicate touch to balance the artists and technicians, the schedules, the updates, and the deadlines. I call that a high-touch scenario because there's a lot of ongoing discussions and relationship building and handshakes involved. Well, at least up until now, I'm not so sure about how the handshake part is going to shake out. But I do know one thing. Bruce Wood is excellent at what he does. And a lot of people know that. And they tell their production friends about it.
Playback ending in 5.
Standby fade music, standby talent.
3, 2, 1. Clear.
Music go. Talent go. Welcome to Event Yak, where event pros share their stories about the past, present, and future. I'm your host, Terri Walters. Bruce Wood.
Hello, Terri Walters.
How are you?
I just dropped the phone. Well, starting out smashingly. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too. I was laughing because we're two low tech-ish people in a high tech world.
Yes, but at least you've got your shit together.
I don't. I have a lot of stuff spread all over the place. It looks like NASA here.
Oh, nice.
But having gear doesn't necessarily mean you're doing anything positive. So
True. I've got a basement full of music gear, and I rarely do anything positive with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
I'm trying to, but I'm a gear person. But that's not to my benefit sometimes.
If the world were in theory, I would have all my T's crossed and all my I's dotted. But unfortunately, theory does not run the world.
It does, but eventually somebody has to do something. But I'm glad go ahead.
That's why we're standing by.
Yes.
Direct everyone else on what to do.
That's kind of it. That's kind of it. Well, I'm glad that you're able to make it on the show because you're one of the people. I tend to have like not very few. I tend to have some long-term relationships with people I work with. You're one of them. I appreciate you, Terri, and I appreciate the offer. I feel honored that you would ask. I totally. I think that you're a great person to interview. I think you have a lot of really interesting insights that I think you'll be able to provide our listeners, especially during these weird times.
Well, I hope not to disappoint.
No, you won't. But we actually met, I think, at FDIC, the big fire show. I actually interviewed Bobby Halton a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, he's doing great. And, he did a really good podcast. He, worked with us to do a really cool podcast, and he gave us a lot of great information. But I love those guys and I love that show. That's where we met, which was like 15 years ago.
That is where we met, and it was, oh goodness, it must have been mid 2000s.
Yeah, it was. It was like
that was a great show, and that's still one of the favorites.
It is, and unfortunately, they didn't get to do it this year. But yeah, you weren't part of High Tech at that point. High Tech wasn't.
No, I was straight up freelance.
Yep.
Still video engineer.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and you were awesome.
Way back before the digital age.
Yes, we were using actual Betacam tape or DV
Yes,
cam
and
tape.
I don't know if your listeners remember, but red, green, blue, horizontal, and vertical sync. Yeah, we used to have to break it all down. Now it's just one cable. These kids today, Terry,
I know, I know.
I don't know what they're complaining about.
I know, and that's what I say. It's like I used to travel. Like if I did international work, I'd have to load an entire container with the editing gear and ship it. And now I put it under my arm and walk on the airplane with it. So
Indeed, yes.
so,
yes.
but it's fun. But so you were doing video. We did a couple of shows together, including FDIC. And then you decided, I keep saying, people kind of do their job and then magically something happens and they either start their own company or start to do their own thing.
And that's exactly how it was. I was working a show. We were loading out. I was standing on the loading dock, and it just dawned on me. Look, I should start. And I was looking over the crowd of people, just a handful had traveled there with me, and just this slew of local labor. And I thought, this is interesting. Someone coordinates all this labor. We call one person and all these people show up. I want to be that guy.
And who before you started your company, like who was doing that?
Oh, the big guys, Immediate Connections, VRE out of Orlando. I think it was VRE. I may be.
Are those production companies or are they actually staffing?
These are labor companies.
Okay, labor companies.
Yeah,
okay.
Actual staffing companies. The technical staffing group out of DC.
Uh-huh.
Robert Hunter, a good friend of mine, he actually started me along this line of thinking. Glenn Daughtry with Front Row AV in Seattle, Washington was my mentor.
Okay.
I had known him. He does AV/crewing.
Okay.
So he's delving into both there. But he was the first one I called when I decided to take this step into the crewing business. And he led me along the way, held my hand through the whole process, as long as I did not cross the Rockies.
Yeah, so you're kind of regional. I was going to ask you, do it sounds like that there are specific groups that manage or oversee specific regional locales. Is that accurate?
With high tech, yes. I cover Kentucky and Indiana.
Okay.
And then I have a regional manager in North Carolina, Ashley Trzanski, who is top-notch logistically.
All right.
And she covers the Carolinas, and we tag team Tennessee.
Okay, so you've got Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, and North Carolina. All right.
And South Carolina.
All right. Awesome.
Yes.
All right, good deal.
Yes.
And just tell our listeners what specifically you do. I know, we're kind of, I didn't let you kind of lay out exactly what it is that high-tech staffing does.
Oh, right on. High-tech staffing, we provide local labor for stage and screen projects. Anything theater-wise, convention, trade show. We've got our finger on the pulse of the local labor in all these, our 5 states that we work in our region. And companies will come to town needing a certain amount of stagehands or audio folks or specific to video, lighting, that kind of thing, production management, runners, whatever. I always like to say we do everything from stage managers to carpet kickers.
Okay.
We can provide your labor.
That's a diverse group. I was talking earlier this morning here in the office. Not to the dog, but to my partner. but although the dog does listen really well.
That's okay, Terry. I talk to my dogs all the time.
It's good. They're really, really good listener, the dogs. And what's good about Bruce and I, we won't talk for a year. And as soon as we get together, it's, it's like we haven't ever not talked. It's how's your dog? How's your, significant other? What's the weather? What are you doing? So we're both.
Well, we started with the business relationship, and then
right,
and then it moved to Terry. I consider you and Diane some of my closest friends.
Well, right back at you, kid.
Right on.
So, and I think too, we've kind of had a parallel path as far as building a business. I had started Moonfish a little bit earlier than you had started high tech, but I think. we both kind of were growing at the same time, which I think was kind of cool for both of us to watch.
Come to think of it, yes, you're right. We did start out at about the same time.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that.
No, it's cool.
But
But
you have to grow. You have to grow.
Yep, no, you do. And then so as far as managing people, that's kind of the stuff, like, we do it in a different way. Like, as a producer, as a production company, we are kind of cat herders too. You know what I mean? Like I was saying. So what I was saying to the dog slash anybody who had listened this morning, crew people are kind of like, they're right up there with like, they're to manage cats. They're all really do their job, but they everybody needs to be managed. They're like, musicians and comedians and pirates. They all need to have somebody who can kind of pull them together.
Well, with every company that calls me, they have their way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our initial conversation is, what do you need? What are you bringing? Who do I look for to work best with your situation? And with every show from that company, it's a different setup. So these micro groups within the group that I bring in, like the audio guys, they need to know
Right.
how the traveling engineer works. So it's managing each little part of that load in, show, load out, to reduce the stress on that traveling crew, because as well as I do how stressful it is to bring a load of gear across country, move it into a building that you probably have never seen before, and put on a spectacular show, which you always do, and then get it out of there and get it back, and everybody in one piece, safe and sound. And that's, it's a big undertaking, but that's what we do.
No, I mean, and you guys do it so well. I mean, I recently worked on a show with you, and you actually, it was fun because you actually were able to place me as a caller for a show that we did.
And thank you so much, Terri.
Oh no, it was awesome. It was a great show, but that was a huge show. I mean, that is a huge challenge. Is that one of the biggest challenging things, shows that you've done, or do you do stuff like this all the time? Because it was amazing to me.
It is up there with one of the largest events we've worked on. Yes, we don't do that size all the time. It's more quantity.
Mm-hmm.
But once in a while, I know the exact show you're talking about, and it was huge.
Yeah, I mean,
and it was a quick turnaround too. So
it was. That's what you said. There was like, it was a little bit, not really last minute, but it was, short turnaround to begin with, right?
It was short turnaround, and they needed a lot of people. We do appreciate it, because that was January of this year, and right before things hit the fan, so to speak. So that was a good show to have under our belt right before it happened. And yes, it was a massive undertaking.
It was great. It was great to be part of such a great success, and it was exciting. I mean, it's like every show though for me. It's like you go in and the lights go down, and you work really hard on the details, and the thing happens, and you're done, and it's, wow, that was awesome. But
Terri, it's been 30 years or so, and I still get butterflies pre-show.
Me too.
It's an exciting industry.
It is, and I always say there's no do-overs. You can't. That's the thing that makes it exciting. It's like a rush.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, get it right, because there are good observation, Terri. There are no do-overs.
No, there's no do-overs ever. So let me ask you this. So now you are in Louisville, and this. Let's talk about this specific show again. Do you consider yourself like the in-house there? Like, how do clients actually find you? And who are your clients actually? Are they production companies? Are they?
My clients are mainly production companies. I am in-house at a couple of theaters. Where we worked, this specific show we're talking about is the convention center here. We are not in-house, but word of mouth is my main advertising. I get calls all the time from people who say that so-and-so sent them to me, and this so-and-so could have been someone I freelanced with, a few years ago, but they just know that High Tech is in Louisville. And we've been doing this. I've been in business for 11 years now, so it's pretty much everybody knows if you're coming to Louisville, call Bruce Wood High Tech Staffing.
That's a good place to be.
Traveled throughout the industry.
Yeah, I mean that's a great place for your company to be and for you to be. But it speaks to you as an individual. I mean, it speaks to your ethic.
Well, we also partner with convention and visitors bureaus within these particular cities. That gets our name out. And then just, again, word of mouth. I cannot say enough about that. Treat people right and they will recommend you to their friends, for sure.
I agree. So you're kind of at the apex. It's sort of like, again, I look at us and we have a parallel life. Like you're at the apex as to where the client meets the technology, and what you supply are all the human assets to actually execute, which I think is, to me, logistically, that's like the hardest. Like we were just talking a little bit about being like a low-tech person in a high-tech world. The lowest tech asset of any show is the human. I mean,
true, but the tech doesn't happen without that.
Right, human. Right. That's the thing that's key.
It's hand in hand. Sure.
So you need to be able to manage both sides of that, which I think is tricky sometimes. I mean, have you ever had issues where it's trickier than other times?
Absolutely. Gear technology moves so fast, and clients will call and say, well, we need somebody that can run this particular gear. And I'll be honest with you, I probably haven't heard of it. So I will get this information from the client. Okay, yes, you're doing a show. What do you need video, audio wise? What are you using video wise? And that's where I pick up the phone and I start calling my freelance partners and I say, I'll know that you're in audio, so I'll call you and I'll just start discussing the show, the gear that's being brought. How well do you know it? If you don't, who knows it? And it's just, it's a process. Every show's a process.
No, and I'm in the same place as you. It's, people have, my entire life, they've spewed out, we have a model XYZ Elemental P camera and we're going to do this. And I'm like, hold it. I know how to actually, get the content and execute and, work with the client to execute, but I don't, I'm not a big model person, I'm not an engineer.
Well, our claim to fame, I guess, has been that I'm very personal with every freelancer. I want to know your capabilities. And if you sign up with us, I'll have a discussion with you. I want to talk to you to find out what you know, how long you've been doing it, where you've worked and how they feel about you. Because, my name goes on every single person that steps into that room to work under the high tech name.
Right.
And we're lucky in that people call us for local labor, but they understand within one market, sometimes availability can be an issue. Finding the right person for that particular job can be an issue locally. We're lucky in that we have all these other markets that we can pull from. The show in particular that we were just talking about, I had folks from all around Nashville, all around Indianapolis come this way to help out from Lexington, Kentucky. They all converged on Louisville to help out on this because it was a large crew, and filling something like that in a market the size of Louisville can be taxing.
Yeah, I bet. How many? Now, just so we have an idea, like how many crew people were on that particular show, just as a ballpark.
Oh, it went from load in and load out to, 75, 80 people to 10 to 12 to 15 for the run of show itself.
Right.
So we started with a very large crowd, 75, 80 people loading in, whittled that down to the show days, and then just,
but still 80 people
back in, get it out of here.
Yeah, 80 people is a lot of people to bring in for
a lot of people.
Like a convention center. It's not like, you're coming into a stadium and there's a lot of people who are already, kind of there, I guess. These are all people who may or may not have worked in this place. And I think the fact, like tell me about how you, like you had mentioned that you vet people pretty much. I mean, I think that's an important thing. For me as a client, if I were hiring you, how do I know that the people you're going to supply me with are top notch?
One thing I say to clients to ease their mind a little bit, we have a website that freelancers go to. They sign up with us. They fill in basic information. Once that comes to us, before I'll send anyone on a job, I'm going to call them. I'm going to talk to them, find out their capabilities. Where are your strengths and weaknesses? Make those notes within my database, so I'll know at a glance. And then I always make sure people send at least a couple of references. Who have you worked with? Who knows your work ethic? And I'll give them a call and ask. And it's the basic interview process. If you go to a standard job interview, they're going to check out your references, your work history, and that's what I do with everyone that comes in.
But see, and that's a huge process for me. I mean, I look at that and I go, if you talk to everybody and you check everybody's references, that's something I don't need to do as a producer. I know that
Exactly.
You and I need to have a relationship, as a producer and as a, partner. But I think that, like you say, there's a lot of people who can speak for you and to your strengths and to your integrity. But it's like, to me, like I've known you for, 15 years. If you said this guy is good for the job, then I'm good with that.
And there is a huge leap of faith. I mean, if the client doesn't know me, if whoever sent them to me doesn't know me that well, I mean, it is a huge leap of faith, and I understand that. I truly do. But leading up to that show, I'm going to pass those things along just to ease their mind as best I can. I know that 100% comfortable is hard to reach sometimes.
Well,
but,
on any show,
hopefully by the end of the show that you are comfortable with me to call me the next time.
Yeah. And any show, nobody's ever 100% comfortable with anything, it's,
well, if you are, then you're setting yourself up.
Yeah. It's the nature of the beast. I mean, this is not our
Yes.
first rodeo, Bruce. We know going in, it's always, you do as much as you can, and then, you're putting out fires, while you're on site. So, but,
Yes.
I'm one of the few people, though, probably, and maybe I'm not, but I feel like I'm one of the few people, like I've actually utilized you as a production company, but you have also utilized me as a staff person. So to me, I have a unique perspective of what you do. And I mean, you've treated me fairly in both positions. You know what I mean? It's like anytime I've utilized your, services, you're extremely fair, but on the receiving end, you are too. I don't know how you're so even keeled, and I don't know where you get that from.
Wow. That's a new one on me.
No, you are.
I've had people tell me I'm not even keeled.
Oh, well, I don't know.
I'm susceptible to stress like anyone, but it's like you said just a minute ago, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
But if you do it right. I mean, there is a comfort level you can reach.
Right.
And as better than anybody, if you have put the due diligence in, if you've done everything you possibly can. The stressful times are when you're sitting there and you haven't quite done everything you could to make sure it's going right. And that's when people stress out.
Or you haven't caught something. It's like you can be as diligent
that
as
happens also.
Yeah, you're like on top, I'm on top. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh,
But I consider that one of those fires.
I agree.
You got to go into it expecting to put out fires.
It's true.
Going to happen.
It's true.
But I strive for as low stress as possible. That's why I put all the work in leading up. I cross I look it over 2-3 times. I send it to North Carolina, and Lord knows she's got enough work to do there. But here, double check this for me.
Yeah, you cross check. Yeah.
Yes.
You have to.
Because, bottom line, you're going to have some stress.
Yeah.
Just don't pile it on them.
Well, and as it relates to the human asset, again, I think that is a unique thing in events. Again, you can spec all the gear and you can go and inspect the location, and a lot of that doesn't really change, but the human assets are the moving parts. And I think that's why I think you're extremely unique.
Well, as much as my clients sometimes have to make a leap of faith to trust me, I have to do that with freelance sometimes. I mean, I certainly will call those who I know give me the best product, but again, availability is an issue sometimes. And at that point, and I've had these guys tell me to back off because I insist they are as prepared as possible. And I ask too many times, and they're like, "Look, we've got it. I've done it. Please, we're ready. We're ready, Bruce. Relax," which I won't do.
That's a thing that I think successful people do all the time, though. I mean, and again, I don't, by any stretch consider myself successful. I mean, I've made it through this far, but you tend to over communicate. Let me ask you this. So flip side. So you provide high tech staffing for clients, including production companies and sometimes directly for companies, end user companies. But you're also an advocate and a resource for people who are crew. How do you make that work for people? If I'm a crew member, how do I end up working with you?
I had mentioned before our website, you can sign up with us there. And again, word of mouth in this industry that's the biggest thing for me. If people are not out there trumpeting you, it makes it that much harder. So these freelancers, they talk amongst themselves.
That's important.
Somebody will say, "Hey, well, you need to call so-and-so. He's got work," or "They've got work." And that's just it. They'll go to my website. They'll call me, and I'll direct them to the website, because that's where we get our initial information about someone. And we check up on them before we even call them. We'll go ahead and check out some of the information they sent to us. Again, it's my name, bottom line, at the end of the day.
But you live and die by that. You know what I mean? It's like you if it's positive, then it's great. And if there's somebody has some, a negative experience, that impacts you as well. I mean,
as well as I do, you are only as good as your last show.
Yeah.
It's harsh, but that's the way it is.
Yeah. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. So since you have got such vast and broad human resources and contacts, what have you been hearing about this weird time that we're living in right now? Like, I'm sure people are talking to you about that.
The main thing I'm hearing, Terry, and I hate to be so pessimistic about it, is that this industry was hit first. We live and die by crowds of people in this industry. That's the bottom line. And we were hit first. I think we took it on. We were the chin that took it in the beginning. And I'm afraid that we're going to be the last to come out of it.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Crowds of people. You won't see crowds of people for some time now. Best estimate I'm hearing is by the holiday season of this year, maybe. That's the best estimate I'm hearing. Christmas parties, Christmas plays, that kind of thing.
And you're hearing that from like your customers, or I know you're not hearing
across the board.
Okay.
Customers, the labor that I work with, politicians, business leaders. That's what I'm seeing.
Okay, that's interesting to me.
The thing I'm telling my labor nowadays is look into. Right now, start looking into networking homes, networking businesses, because our work is going to be digital, completely digital on the computer now. Instead of getting together, people are meeting just like we are now, Terry.
Yeah.
And that's probably where we need to look in the short term, at least, to maintain some stability in our personal lives.
Do you think a lot of people are doing that? Do you think a lot of people are investing in their kind of quote unquote home studios? And I mean, I don't know if there's a lot of people who have the resources. I mean, because I don't know. Maybe, you can give me some insight. Do people have the resources to actually create home studios in their houses? And what does that look
I
like?
may have made that sound a bit grand. I'm talking a laptop and a microphone, which we have been discussing these last couple of days prepping for this interview. Just having the capabilities of seeing and talking to someone live.
Yeah.
And it can be just your laptop with the earbuds and a microphone I've got online programs that I watch, and these guys have gone to that length to set up soundproof studios in their basements.
Yeah.
That's the higher end, which is an opportunity, I would say, for some folks.
Yeah. I mean,
install.
I've always wanted to actually call a show from my house in my pajamas. So I have a couple of friends who are in the technical arena, and they are working on scenarios where they can, and I think the bigger companies, like the World Stages and the PRGs and the, Creative Technologies, all those big cats, they have had, they've been positioned kind of better for this, because they've got staff and they can throw people at it. And maybe I'm wrong. This is just my perception. It seems by all the feeds I'm looking at that they have accomplished the whole digital thing, we're doing it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just think it's going to grow. I think that area of the business is growing. Yes, I know a lot of guys that do installation and companies who have installation departments, and I think it's going to grow in that respect. As far as our industry, that's the part that's going to come out of this first.
Yeah.
And there's opportunity there. I hate to send this out to the world like that because I'm actually looking into it myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have to.
We've got to change gears, change direction, at least short term, for self-preservation at this point.
I agree. Are your crews? Have you started to crew people on digital events yet, or we haven't turned that corner yet?
I have not turned that. High Tech hasn't turned that corner yet.
Okay.
We're I'm in the process of looking at things. This came along and just blindsided me.
Yeah, it did everybody.
It really did. I guess at a certain point everybody did see it coming, but
I don't know that anybody saw this thing the way that it was going to play out coming.
Well, when the shows started canceling, which we all saw.
Oh yeah, then
it was at that point that
March
reality really started sinking into the majority of folks, and
I know.
I wish I could say that I was on top of it and prepared and ready, but I won't say that.
No, I mean, I don't think that anybody knew where this was going to go. I mean, I think,
and we still don't.
Yeah, no, we don't.
No, yeah.
And the thing that I'm struggling with, this is a personal thing, is it's like, and everybody's saying this is like this big, it's a cliche at this point, I guess, but it's like, I feel like I'm in mourning, like we were talking about how we do a live show and there's nothing like live and face to face, and the lights go down and the music comes up and we both get goosebumps. And now that
I just did from your description, the goosebumps. It's a great. I've loved this. I've loved this industry for many years. It's a great.
It's to me it's sad, and but it's as people and as business owners and as it has always, the business has always evolved. It's just that for me, the live component, which is the piece that can't really happen the way it used to. I mean, the thing that I really, really loved about the industry is something that is going to change, and I don't know what it's going to be, and that's why it's such a hard pill. I know, and I'm sorry to see, I don't want you to be the only one bringing, a dose of reality here, but I think, things are going to things have to change. I think it's too big of an industry to keep down. I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. People need to be entertained.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's bottom line. Concerts will come back.
Yeah.
Plays, events will come back. Trade shows, conventions.
I mean, humans need to gather. That's just how it is. It's been that way since the beginning of time. So I think
Yes,
that
we are a social species, of course.
I agree. So, but yeah, it's I think it's totally going to come back. It's just going to have a little bit of a different, color to it. That's all.
I just hope everybody hangs in there. I know people are suffering right now.
Yeah.
Not only in our industry.
Yeah.
Everyone's suffering.
It is, and we don't know what's going to come out. But
hang in there.
Yep.
Hang in there. We have got to get through this, and we will.
I think we will. I think we're, a creative group, and I think, speaking of that, I see a lot of creative stuff happening with people. I see people writing articles, and again, that doesn't really, pay the bills at this point, but people are starting podcasts, and
yes, congratulations, Terri. it keeps rather than wallow in the woe is me side of this whole monstrosity.
Yeah,
it's that creativeness that people getting more creative. It's exercising the mind, which you absolutely have to do. Please keep your mind to you. Keep it.
And I know a lot of people get tired of saying, oh, you should learn something. Oh, a lot of people are saying, use this time to, rest, recharge, renew. I just made that up. But I think I just heard somebody say somewhere yesterday that the body, if you don't exercise your body, it begins to atrophy. The muscles begin to atrophy after like 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. I can attest to that. I actually broke my leg a few years back. I think I told you about that. And I was hobbling around for a while. But your muscles atrophy immediately if you don't use them. And your mind is like your biggest muscle.
Yes.
So I think all of us, need to exercise our mind no matter what we're doing. So what have you been up to, Bruce, during the,
Well,
I'm going to be
honest with you. Like I said, this came along and took the wind right out of my sails. Yeah. I actually think I was in shock for the first month or so when it seems to be a blur. I just didn't know which way to turn.
Yep.
Didn't know what to do with myself because, as a small business owner, and everybody says this, it's 24/7. I've been working for 14 years, I guess, nonstop. 24/7 high-tech staffing. I have been high-tech staffing for 14 years now, and then in the blink of an eye, I had to be Bruce Wood, and I didn't know this guy. Who is Bruce Wood?
I haven't seen him for like 15 years.
Yes. So I picked up my guitar. I play that some. I've been creative writing. I try to keep some sort of schedule on writing, just to get the idea on paper. I've been doing a lot of cooking, which means I've gotten a pound or two since then. I've been enjoying cooking, housework, working around the house. I'm putting, doing some more landscaping, just anything to keep occupied because I just cannot sit and dwell on it. And when I do sit, I try to stay focused on, okay, what is next? Not what's happened, but where do we go from here? And I'm open to ideas.
Yeah.
Any of my friends out there who hear this, get a hold of me. We'll make something happen.
No, I think that is an optimistic attitude and positive attitude to have. Yes, meal planning has been high on the priority list here around Moonfish as well. And the dog has been the main beneficiary of the COVID situation. He gets multiple walks. I'm sure your dogs are Yeah. I'm sorry. Do you have one now or do you have two dogs?
I have two now,
Okay.
but I've always walked them. I always take my lunch to walk them, and then I walk them in the evening.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's good.
it's not a big difference for them.
All right. Yeah. This guy, Jack, he gets, he's like got morning, noon, and night. It's like, I'm eating, I'm
Nice,
taking a walk. I'm up, I'm taking a walk. Right. Right.
nice.
But
Is
it's,
he getting tired of it yet? Is he growling at you
oh
when you
no,
come
no,
in with the leash?
he's happy. He's not like those memes where they're like, oh, he totally digs it.
Right on.
But I think that's good for people's minds. I think it's,
Yeah,
I think,
that's the biggest thing that
yeah,
I could tell people is please stay active physically and mentally
yeah,
because it will get to you if you allow it to.
yeah.
Get up, get out,
I think also,
make it happen.
you're a type of guy who talks to people, like you were saying. I mean, are you reaching out to people and taking the pulse of what's going on out there?
Initially, I checked in with a lot of my freelance partners that I use on a regular basis. I just want to make sure they're okay. What can we do
Right.
at this point? We're not a large company, but we can help out.
Yeah.
If only just a pep talk, like I said, get up, walk, write, do something, exercise everywhere.
Yeah.
Just don't let it get to you because if you stop, it'll creep into your head and it's just not a good place to be. Not a good place to be.
Do you think you're going to be able to, and I know this is a weird question, but once things start to turn the corner, and it's not going to be a fast turn, it's going to be, one of those big, slow turns,
Yes.
like a train makes.
Yes.
Do you think you're going to be able to will you be ready, I guess, to jump when it happens?
I'm staying ready. I know a lot of my clients won't be around, and that breaks my heart to know that a lot of what I was saying before about people are suffering.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these clients I have are not going to be in business anymore. A lot of the freelancers that I work with are going, a lot of them have already taken full-time work. And if they come back to freelancing when things do come back, I just don't know. So
yeah,
I do on a regular basis check in with clients and freelancers just to see who's still on this team, so to speak. And I fully understand if you're not freelancing anymore, if you got a job, hey, more power to you. Good. I'm glad to hear that. But I'm not going to have the client pool that I did have when I come back, and I'm not going to have the labor pool when I get back. Some will be the same. Some, like I said, some will have freelance or full-time jobs. A lot of new people will be on the scene. People who were working for these companies that didn't make it, and they need work.
That's interesting.
That's something I'm doing is keeping tabs on my regular folk, make sure they're okay, see where their heads are, where they're going to be in the future. And I'm getting ideas of people who didn't quite make it and are now reassessing their future. Maybe your future is with high tech. So when it comes back, yes, I will be ready.
See, that's an interesting perspective that I didn't even think about. Like initially I was like, okay, so production companies, some of them will go out of business. Freelancers are taking, full-time jobs wherever. It doesn't even have to be in the industry. People are working everywhere. But the fact that the production companies, they've had people who were on staff, and now as they start to struggle, they lay people off. So now you have new people possibly. And I know that's like a silver lining on a really dark cloud.
It is because there are.
It's bad. It makes you feel bad.
I'll leave it at that. It is a silver lining on a very dark cloud.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
It makes you feel bad and good at the same time. It's,
yes. It makes me feel bad for feeling kind of good.
Yeah.
But that's the reality.
Yeah.
We got to get past the feelings and we got to look at the reality of things. And unfortunately, right now, the reality is it's scary.
It is. But I think, again,
we'll get through it.
I think you've positioned yourself in a good place. And again, you're regional. And I think that's very strong. Do you think you'll ever... Go ahead.
I'm not going to say that we're not going to take hits, because
Yeah.
we will. Everyone's going to, but we're going to be ready when it comes back.
Yeah.
We're maintaining conversations with the folks we need to, and we'll take it from there. Just like anybody.
Yeah.
Just take it from there.
I mean, and if anybody can, it's you. And I like I said, I've known you for a long time.
Blah blah blah.
I know. It's like us. I'm
Thank
trying to
you.
like make myself feel better too at the same time. It's
Right.
it's a self-fulfilling thing.
Well, Terry, you're in a good position in that when things do come back and someone needs a show caller, you are pretty much on everybody's top of everyone's list.
I'm on somebody's list somewhere. That's for sure. That's always my problem.
Well, what I was saying before about crossing the T's and dotting the I's, nobody does it better than you.
Well, thank you for that. It's both of us. It's where the rubber hits the road. So actually, things need to be checked. But hey, so tell everybody how both production companies and freelancers can get in touch with you.
Oh, we are still at www.hitechstaffing. That's HI-TECH staffing.com.
Okay.
We are maintaining our business. We're not doing any business, but we're still here. Please get a hold of us, whatever you guys need. If you've got some ideas on what you need to do, we would love to talk to you and help out in any way.
So if production companies are doing, if they're doing like digital and they need, staff, you have people who are at the ready to kind of jump in and help out.
We're ready to come back as far as changing direction. We are ready in that we have people in place and the conversation can begin. We are ready to talk to you, and we will figure it out how best to make these things happen. Okay. Absolutely.
I know we're all kind of feeling our way here, but I think it's good to be ready and ready to jump. And
we did lose our Facebook page, so other than the website, I guess you don't want to give out my phone number.
You can do whatever you want. This is my show, and I'm interviewing you, so this is your show. So if you want to put your phone number out there, you can go for it.
Please contact us at the website, www.hitechstaffing.com, and that's HI-TECH staffing. Give me a call, 502-558-0339. I'd love to talk to you, if only just about what we can expect in the future at a guess.
All right.
We're looking at that also. Bruce at hitechstaffing.com. Send me an email. We'll talk.
And he gets back to you.
We're in the process of getting our social media back on track. Again, I'm going to leave that up to the youngins. But
it is hard to keep track of everything. That's for sure.
We need to get back on Facebook. There's these tweets that people send. I don't know how that works. So we're going to carrier pigeons, smoke signals. We're going to figure
whatever works. We'll make it happen. Yeah. Well, then
we're going to get people together, and we're going to take it from there.
All right. Well, that sounds great. I appreciate you taking the time, and
Terry, again, so good to hear from you, and I'm honored that you would call and want to get my worthless 2 cents on the matter.
I don't think anything is worthless at this point. Everybody's got an opinion here. So, but what's interesting? It's so funny. Today I was on Facebook talking about social media. I'm on Facebook, and it is National Distillery Day. And here I am talking to my dear friend in Louisville. Now, I know if it's on Facebook, it's got to be true. So what's going on down for National Distillery Day? Anything you know about?
This is the first I've heard of it, Terry.
We're breaking news.
I feel like I need to get a drink.
I think today I'm going to be making an old fashioned. Anybody out there have a recommendation for a certain bourbon? I'm open to it.
Well, if I recommend bourbon, I'm of the mindset that if you add anything but ice to bourbon, you are ruining it.
Oh, okay.
And there are hardliners who even say the ice is ruining it. I mean, bourbon is perfect by itself.
The perfect world.
The only thing you need for bourbon is a glass.
and that is a great place for us to end.
Nice.
I really appreciate again you taking the time, Bruce. And hey, let's continue the dialogue.
Right on, Terry. So good to hear from you. I hope you guys are doing well, and please let me know if you need anything.
Thanks.
Right on.
Well, that's a wrap for this show. Hey, you can show us some love by subscribing to the show wherever you're listening to us. Subscribing is caring. You can also find us at eventyak.com. The opinions expressed on Event Yak are the opinions of our individual guests and not necessarily the organizations to which they're affiliated. Event Yak is a production of Moonfish Production Limited. Thank you for listening. Be kind, be safe, and stand by to stand by.